Okay, so this is a test of the recording software. I've got Autodesk Sketchbook to do drawings, and I've got iSpring Cam to do the screencast. And everything is being put up on the screen. I'm going to practice drawing a little bit and also practice using my voice to see how loud it is, how the audio quality is as well. So I'm going to select my pen and use a nice bright white color so there's lots of contrast. I'm going to practice drawing the Roger Garrison's 4-panel capital base macro. Up here in the top left quadrant we have the structure of production. So this is a Hayekian triangle. We've got production existing in stages. So this over here is the first stage of production. This would be getting natural resources out of the ground, doing some research and development, whatever has to happen at the front end of a production process. The second stage, we do a little bit of refining, some extra manufacturing happens in this stage, maybe some transportation, and then finally putting the good on the shelf at the store for the consumers. And so this is all production for the entire economy. Everything is going through these stages of production. The vertical dimension measures spending in each of these stages. So if you go from here up to here, this measures the spending on all the factors of production in the first stage. This is all the spending on the factors of production in the second stage, this vertical dimension here. And so what that means is that at the very right-hand side, this is all consumption spending in the economy. So this is all consumers buying all the consumption goods that are produced by this entire economy structure of production. And because of that, it means that we can map it to what's in the top right quadrant, which is a graph that shows the relationship between consumption and investment spending. So on the vertical axis we have consumption spending, because that's what we have at the very right end of the structure of production. So we can go ahead and map those together. And then on this axis here we have investment spending. Now, there's been a lot of controversy in economics over what the relationship between consumption spending and investment spending looks like. If you ask a Keynesian economist, they would say that they're positively correlated. So they would draw a line that goes out of the, it might have an intercept here. They would draw a line because of autonomous consumption. They would have a positively sloped line, so it would go like that. However, if you ask a classical economist or an Austrian economist these days, they would say that there is a negative relationship between the two, at least in the short run, given a certain set of resources. I'm going to try again on that relationship. With a given set of resources, there's a trade-off between consumption spending and investment spending. And it's because you only have a certain amount of stuff. You can consume resources in the economy or you can invest them. And so to increase one, you have to decrease the other. So there's this negative slope. And it bows outward because there's heterogeneity in the resources. Some things are better to be consumed and other things are better to be invested and used in production. Anyway, so this whole trade-off would expand outward if the economy is growing. And that's where we would get the positive relationship. It's over time, given economic growth, given an expanded set of resources, then you can increase both. However, at any point in time with a limited set of resources, then they have a negative relationship. There's a trade-off. Okay, so this gives us the level of investment for the entire economy. So we've got the level of consumption and the level of investment. If we draw a loanable funds market down here for the entire economy, this is all present money traded for future money, then we also get the level of investment, which equals loanable funds. And we can talk about why that is, maybe not in this example video. But we have loanable funds market, so we have a demand curve for loanable funds, and we have a supply curve for loanable funds. And if you draw it right, then this should match up with this. Equilibrium in this time market down here should match up with the total level of investment spending. And the reason for this is because when you're making investment decisions, you're comparing the present to the future, and so you have to filter it through your own time preferences, and everybody's doing this. All entrepreneurs are doing this. All savers are doing this, so saving preferences are here on this supply curve, and also borrowers' preferences are on this demand curve. We've restricted it to just the demands for present money on the part of entrepreneurs who are going to use those funds to put them in this structure of production to make the consumption goods. So there is a constraint on this demand curve. We don't have consumption borrowing depicted here, but just borrowing for the sake of production. And then one other thing that we can add, so we can add some stage-specific labor markets. So here we have an early stage labor market. There's demand for labor. People want to hire lumberjacks and farmers and miners, and researchers and developers. They want to hire all these people in the early stages, and there are people who are willing to work for various wages in these early stages. And we have the same thing over here in the late stage. And we just have pulled out two labor markets, two stage-specific labor markets. We could have drawn some for the middle stages, but just so we could see the dynamics for the whole economy, we'll see what might happen as a differential between these two. We only need two stage-specific labor markets. And so that's how you set up the Roger Garrison's 4 panels of capital-based macroeconomics.